Hey, what's going on, guys? This is your boy C-Will back to you with another video. And as you can see here, we are about to vertical mount the 4090 Founders Edition card. One of the main reasons is because I cannot fit my side glass panel on with using the 16-pin cable without it pushing up against the actual cable, causing, I don't want any issues. So what we're going to do is we're going to vertical mount. That way we could be able to fit this in, no issue. And not have problems with the actual cable. So that's what we're doing today. And I hope you had a chance to check out my previous video. Just upgraded to 1,000-watt power supply from Seasonic, and that's working great. And so this is the next thing up that we got for the quality of life when it comes to using the 4090. All right, so let's see. No, I like to keep my boxes in check, so let me do this surgically. There we go. All right, so let's see what we got in the box. I've read that this is one of the best GPU mounts when it comes to the 4090. So this is the riser cable. It's Gen 4. So we shouldn't have any problems right out of the box. And of course, we're using inside the BIOS. I'm using got some screws. I'm using rebar. I've always been using it. So, we got a pamphlet here. So I'm definitely going to take a look at this because this particular unit, it does all type of stuff. Just looking at the back of the box, it's 30 millimeters in length space here on the back of the panel. Then it says it's a toolless design, so it just has push things that's above the actual bracket. And it also slides, so it allows you to be able to slide the graphics card in further into the case. And now that I'm looking at this, we may do that because we have the AIO cables is right here. But once the power connector is here, so when we get ready to flip the card up, it's probably going to be up in this section here. So I may slide it down a little bit so we could also get in the fan that's on top of the 4090. When we flip it over, it's going to be facing that way. So I may slide this over just a little bit so the exhaust, the heat is not going to be going on the RAM. And speaking of RAM, I just upgraded into 64 gigabytes RAM, 6,000 speed, which is unheard of as far as filling, using all four banks on the actual motherboard. But I got it to work. So make sure that you check out that video. I'll put a link in the description, or you'll see a card pop up in the left or right hand corner of the screen. But again, I may slide this down so the exhaust fan will be facing this way. Then I have intake fans coming in, intake at the bottom, exhaust at the top. So that'll push the hot air back and up. So, and then, of course, once we get the side panel put on, we'll check the temperatures and all that different type of stuff. Now, let me tell you, just feeling this right here, I don't think we're going to have any problems with this being sturdy because it is heavy. It feels premium and also durable all at the same time. So here the actual, when it said that this was, oh, here it is. It's on the back. So I think these twist up, which allows the actual card to slide like that. So that's pretty cool. And like I said, I think we're going to use this because just looking at this, if I have it here, I can actually slide the card. The furthest it'll go is 65 millimeters. And so I think that I actually, just looking at this, that'll put it right where I want it to be. So I'm going to use this, actually. So that's going to be pretty cool. And also just thinking about this with the riser cable, I may not move it too far because this still has to plug into the motherboard. So I'm going to leave this in a default location, and if we need to move it, then we will. All right. So this also slides back and forth. This slides. You can actually pull the card away from the motherboard, but I'm going to leave it default because I actually want this to sit back in the case. So to leave as much room as possible for the air from the bottom to flow up. So I think, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it looks like we need at least 5 PCIe slots open. And what's good about this is that we could lift this high up enough where the actual, we don't hit the fans down here at the bottom. So I'm gonna take the 4090 out, and then I think what I'm going to do is actually put the bracket in first, then attach the 4090. I think that's the best way to do it because I want to be able to plug this into the actual motherboard with no issue. So let's try that first. So most of the 4090 cards they're 3.5 slots. This one is 3 slots, but the actual bracket is actually 3 slots. You have some 4090s where the bracket may be 2 slots, but it's a 3.5 slot card. This is actually 3 slots in a 3 slot card. Now, one thing that I didn't read before buying this was whether or not it supported a 3 bracket card. And thank God, because as you can see, you have 1, 2, 3. 3 slots, so this is right on time. So this actually supports a 3 bracket card, which is what the 4090 is, the Founders Edition anyway. So let me slide this over here. So here's the goal. When we get ready to put this in, it's gonna look like this. The power connector is here. So if I slide this down just a little bit, it should put it in the right place. So we're gonna see. All right, so this comes apart, and it's a good thing that it does because what we need to do is actually take out. So I am going to take out the rest of these brackets. Okay, so the first part of the bracket. So let me tighten this up. I don't want this to move. First part of the bracket is gonna go in. And it looks like I may need to, yeah, I'm gonna take out all of these. That's how it's going to be. And then probably got to move these out of the way just a little bit. So it's 2 screws that's gonna screw this part of the bracket in. Before I screw this bracket in, it's gonna be very important to get the riser cable in first. Now, when I was watching videos on this, this is why you have to prepare for stuff, because I'm going to need to plug this bracket in and still screw it onto here while it's plugged in. I think that's the easiest way to do it. I'm gonna show you why in a second. All right, so this is made very well. So let me take this off. I'm going to plug this in first. All right. So that's plugged in first. And I'm gonna show you why I'm gonna do it like this. This right here, it needs to be plugged in. Otherwise, you're not gonna be able to get your hand back behind there to do what you need to do. So this you need to plug it in first. You screw the bracket in, first part of the bracket. I know it looks unconventional, but I'm gonna do it this way. Okay, first screw in, second screw in. All right, so the bracket is in, got that part. Now, here's the tricky part. What's going to happen is that we're going to screw this in here. I know it looks kind of jank, but just trust me. Trust me for a second. Trust me. So we got to connect it, and also realizing this too, you don't want to really put stress on this cable. So you really don't want to slide it that much. Yeah, I don't know how much you want to actually slide this, just because of this riser cable in the back. It says you can do it, but I don't know. It's up to you on how you want to handle that. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to lock it right here. So you got the tabs on the back. So this is where it gets a little tricky because these AIO cables, it pushes up against the GPU. So I tell you what, here's what I'm going to do first. I'm actually going to secure this to the bracket. So now that I have that secured, I want to have this pushed all the way back. Or because if I put this cable behind here, I don't want it to hit the fan back here. So let me see. Let's see. If I slide it down a little bit, then push it back. Okay, so it looks like this actually makes the most sense. So I slid it further down into the case. And the reason why I did it that way is because they keep some of the pressure in the cables kind of out the way. So I think this is the best position for this. And that way I'm not putting too much pressure on the card and it gives me space to actually put the 16-pin connector. So like if I bring this up here, plugging this in, that's snapped in. And just so you know, the AIO is not up against the cable. It's not even touching it. Okay, let's turn this thing on. Oh, I just realized, so this is the bottom of the card. So this fan right here is intake. And there's actually LED lights on the bottom of the car. I didn't even know that. So yeah, that's pretty good. Okay, so I had to change the camera angle just a little bit. There's a slight, very slight GPU sag towards the end. Like it's sturdy, but I could just see it slightly. You know, just kind of makes me think this is sturdy. You know, I got everything screwed in tight, but if you have a larger card that's longer, you may see that a little bit more. You may not see it as much if you have the card all the way tucked in. And this kind of makes me think about possibly changing the orientation of my AIO and placing the actual cables towards the top. So it's like if I flip it, then the cables wouldn't be so close. I don't know. I have to think about that, you know, see if there's something I want to do. But for right now, it's going to stay like this. Okay, so the first order of business is I got the panels back on. I'm living the vertical GPU mount. Yeah. And we back at Division 2, same spot. The first order of business that right now I have the actual card at stock with the fan curve inside MSI Afterburner. I normally use fan curve. I used it while I had the actual power at 133%. Right now the power is at just 100%. And the game has been running for about 15, 20 minutes now. And we were topping out at about 72, 73 degrees, which, you know, the actual power is topping out at about, I think 420 watts was the highest I've seen with the actual power limit at 100% at stock. I am going to raise the power limit up to 130, you know, to max it out at 133% to see how much the temperature rises up to. This is my first time actually being able to get the temperatures with the actual 4090 completely inside of the case, because now you just depend on, like, I think the room temp is between 70 and 71 degrees. I'm not in my normal office room, which these temps right here could possibly be higher. So let's take a look at the actual temperatures. The power at 133%. Okay, so I've been letting this run for about 15 to 20 minutes now, and it looks like we're, you know, we're hitting the close to pretty much 500 watts on the actual card with the power limit raised up to 133%. And as you can see, I think we're topping at about 78 degrees with the vertical mount. Okay, so I have an update. the fans that I have in the back, I actually switched them to exhaust. And the reason why I did that is because the fan on the front of the 4090 is intake, but the one that's on the back is exhaust. So to make this make sense, if the fan on the back here is exhaust, it'd be good for that hot air to actually flow out of the case instead of having turbulence. Because I initially had these fans as intake. So you had the exhaust and the intake coming against each other, which I think it was not good in terms of the actual cooling off of the card. So I now have the bottom fans. Those will always stay as intake. And then we have exhaust on the side, and then of course exhaust on the AIO. And as a result of that, it looks like we're saving out on about 2 degrees, maybe 1 or 2 degrees, which is cool. But and again, this is with the actual power limit maxed out on the 4090. All right. So what I also realized is that I can actually go inside my Gigabyte Control Center and set my case fans to full speed, 100%. And if we go back up here, I've been playing this for about 20 minutes now, and it looks like we're maxing out at 76 degrees. It was between 75, 76 degrees, so that's actually pretty good. We're actually saving about 4 to 5 degrees on the temp with the case fans at 100%. So that definitely works for me. I'm probably gonna never use the power slider at 133%. Especially when you're getting frame rates like this. And so, yeah, this is Division 2. Now, one thing I am going to check is that if I actually put the power slider back to 100%, what does the tip fall down to with still having the fans at 100% on the case fans? So let's check that out. Okay, so with the case fans still maxed out at 100%, it looks like we maxed out at about 71 degrees. And that's what putting power slider back to just 100% stock. Still using the fan curve on the 4090, and I think I like this. I think I like this scenario. You know, we went down in frames, but on a game like this, I mean, come on, you know what I'm saying? So, but I like this scenario, 70, 71 degrees. Yeah, this actually has me thinking about possibly, you know, getting better case fans. I actually been looking at the Lee Infinity Uni fans, and those provide really good airflow. Plus, you know, you get that gracious RGB. So yeah, that may be, you know, in another video coming real soon. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. This is one of the ultimate setups. But yeah, I've been enjoying the 4090, and definitely I love this Cooler Master V3 vertical GPU mount. It definitely works. It works for me. Again, let me know what you think down in the comments below. Links will be in the description if you want to pick one of these up. And I'll see you in the next video. Peace.